Today's number 14 most urgent vulnerability is CVE 2026-19681, a critical command injection flaw in Security Center tied to file upload processing. The short version: an authenticated attacker may be able to upload a specially crafted file and cause commands to run on the underlying operating system. That is the kind of bug defenders cannot treat as a routine web issue because the impact can move from an application feature to the host beneath it. This is the Daily Ranked CVE Brief, What to Patch First, ranked by real exploitation signal from CVE, First EPSS, and CVSS every day. CVE 2026-19681 is not listed in CISA's known exploited vulnerabilities catalog in today's data, but it still lands high because the severity is extreme, the attack is network reachable, and the EPSS percentile is elevated. The official NVD description says, an authenticated command injection vulnerability exists in Security Center related to file upload processing. An attacker could exploit this issue by uploading a specially crafted file, potentially resulting in arbitrary command execution on the underlying operating system. The key weakness is CVE-78, operating system command injection. In plain English, that means data supplied to an application is not safely separated from commands the system can execute. If the application takes something connected to a file upload and handles it in a way that lets command syntax slip through, the boundary between user input and system control can break. The attacker does need to be authenticated according to the CVSS vector, so this is not described as an unauthenticated internet drive-by, but authenticated does not mean safe. Many enterprise systems have large user populations, service accounts, federated login, or accounts that can be phished, reused, or over-permissioned. Verdict: this is a near maximum severity vulnerability because a reachable, low-friction application path can lead to operating system command execution with major downstream impact. The first CVSS cluster that matters is reachability. AV:(N) and AC:(L) mean the attack is network-based and low complexity. PR:(L) means the attacker needs low privileges, and UI:(N) means no separate user interaction is required once the attacker has the needed access. So defenders should not mentally downgrade this just because authentication is required. The second metric that matters is scope changed, with high impact to confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Scope changed means successful exploitation can affect security authority beyond the vulnerable component itself. Combined with arbitrary command execution on the underlying operating system, that is why the score is 9.9 critical, rather than just another high-severity application bug. CISA KEV status is important because it tells us whether known exploitation is confirmed in that catalog. For CVE 2026-19681, today's data says KEV is false. That is useful context, but it is not a reason to wait. KEV is a confirmation signal, not an early warning guarantee. The EPSS percentile is 0.81309, which places this vulnerability above a large share of scored vulnerabilities for predicted exploitation likelihood. Pair that with a 9.9 CVSS score, and the result is a practical message. If Security Center is present in your environment, you should verify exposure and plan remediation now. The real-world concern is not just data theft from the application. Command execution can threaten the host, connected services, credentials accessible to that process, and operational availability. Even if exploitation starts with a low-privileged authenticated account, the blast radius can become much larger. Conceptually, the path is straightforward. An attacker first needs valid access at the privilege level described by the CVSS vector. Low privileges. From there, they reach the Security Center functionality that processes file uploads. The vulnerability is in how that upload processing handles a specially crafted file. We are not discussing payloads, commands, or proof-of-concept behavior here. The defensive takeaway is the trust boundary. File uploads are risky because they carry attacker-controlled content into back-end processing pipelines. Even if the uploaded file is never meant to be executable, the system may parse it, inspect it, rename it, move it, scan it, or pass metadata into helper tools. Any place where file names, paths, metadata, or derived values touch operating system command execution can become dangerous if input is not strictly validated and safely handled. For defenders, this means the vulnerable surface is not just a public upload button. It may include internal users, delegated admins, integrations, or automation accounts that can submit files into the same processing flow. To determine whether you are affected, start with asset inventory. Find every security center deployment you operate, including production, test, disaster recovery, and older internal instances that may not be in the main CMDB. Then defer to the vendor advisory for the exact affected and fixed versions. Do not rely on assumptions or partial product names. Next, map reachability. Is the interface accessible from the internet, from partner networks, through VPN, or only from a restricted administrative network? Because the CVSS vector is network-based, network exposure matters. Also review authorization. Which users, groups, service accounts, or integrations can upload files into Security Center? Low privileged access is enough according to the score, so do not only check administrator roles. Finally, confirm whether logging around authentication, uploads, and process execution is enabled and retained long enough to investigate suspicious activity. The primary fix is to apply the vendor-provided remediation from the official advisory. Use that advisory for exact version guidance and maintenance instructions. If you cannot patch immediately, reduce exposure while you work through change control. Restrict access to Security Center to trusted networks. Tighten who can upload files. Remove unnecessary accounts, disable stale users, and rotate credentials for accounts with upload privileges if you see suspicious activity. Apply least privilege to service accounts and integrations. If Security Center runs with broad operating system permissions, review whether those permissions can be reduced according to your operational requirements. Add segmentation around management interfaces and ensure backups and recovery procedures are current. None of these mitigations replaces patching, but they can reduce the chance that a low-privileged authenticated path turns into broad system compromise before your maintenance window. For detection, focus on deviations around the vulnerable workflow. Normal should look like known users uploading expected file types at expected times from expected networks. Investigate spikes in uploads, uploads from unusual accounts, uploads outside normal business patterns, or repeated failures followed by success. Correlate application logs with authentication logs, new source IPs, first-time user agents, impossible travel patterns, or low-privileged accounts suddenly using upload features may be meaningful. On the host, watch for unexpected child processes spawned by the Security Center application or its supporting services. Command injection often leaves traces in process creation telemetry, command line logging where available, abnormal file writes, permission changes, or outbound network connections that the application does not normally make. Also monitor for service instability, unusual CPU usage, or repeated crashes around upload activity. If you suspect exploitation, preserve logs before rotating systems or restoring snapshots, because timeline evidence will matter for scoping. Bottom line, CVE 2026-19681 is a 9.9 critical authenticated command injection vulnerability in Security Center file upload processing. It is not in CVE in today's ranking data, but the combination of network reachability, low complexity, scope change, high impact, and elevated EPSS percentile makes it a serious patch priority item. Confirm whether you run Security Center, check the vendor advisory for affected versions and fixes, restrict upload paths, and monitor for abnormal upload and process behavior. If this helped you decide what to patch first, subscribe to the Daily Ranked CVE Brief. We rank real exploitation signal, CVE, first EPSS, and CVSS every day. The full ranked report is linked in the description.